There's energizing the middle of the day. Welcome, guys. I hope you caught the first interview we done about an hour ago with all of the mums for the amazing book that is Working Mothers Inspiring Others. And now you're going to hear from the dads. So Working Dads and Balancing Acts. And this book is also led by the wonderful Rhys Maconachie, who's going to come and join me on stage to talk about all things working dads and balancing acts. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello, thank you. Take 2 of the day, which is very exciting.
Take 2. I'm sure that you're used to all this TV stuff during the day. It's how we roll.
Yep, sure is.
So in contrast to the Working Mothers book we've just, and the co-authors that we met, we are now going to meet some of the amazing working dads and all of the balancing acts that happens with that. So can you speak to our viewers as to, why you felt it important to show both sides of the coin?
Yeah, absolutely. So I shared this a little bit in the other interview for the Mums book, but for me, I'm a big advocate for gender equity, and I really do truly believe that for mums to be able to truly thrive and shift this sort of change in terms of being able to have a career as well as raising your children, I think that it's so essential for that partnership to be really strengthened, and for dads to be able to come on that journey and to really kind of foster that partnership to allow for mums and dads to have that balance amongst having their careers and parenting. So when I was doing the Mums book, when I got the bright idea to do it, I couldn't physically do one without the other. I was like, it just has to be both, because for me, both are just as equally as important. And I think, as a working mum myself, there's a huge amount of challenges that go alongside that, which we discussed with the Working Mums book. But the flip side of that is this huge change that dads are going through. And I think that we're in this phase where more dads really want to be involved. And there's a lot more involvement and allowance for that across organisations, but there's still a little way to go, and there's still some of these really big stereotypes and biases around the views of mums versus dads and what the stereotypical roles look like. So this book is, I just love this book because it really does. It's very raw and very honest, and it's providing some perspectives that we really rarely hear from dads. So there's a lot of regret. There's a lot of, I wish I'd spent this time with my kids. And there's a lot of, I left my job because they weren't willing to give me this flexibility as a dad, and, having the confidence to know that's what you really want. So there's just such a great mix. It's a great book. I just love this.
I love that dads are getting a voice and getting to choose that they can be part of their kids' lives more, rather than the old traditional, very oldie worldly ways of the dad going out to work and the mother being the supportive behind that business and in the background.
Yeah, and there is so much research coming in now that shows the importance of child development, to have that fatherly figure and to have the involvement of a dad as that role model in terms of the way that you show affection, the way that you learn. Like, men and women operate so differently that when children get the best of both, their development is absolutely phenomenal, because they're getting those two angles of how to kind of operate. So there's just the importance of the involvement of a dad is huge. So the more that we can allow for that, the better it's going to be for not only the happiness of mums and dads, but also the development of children. So it's a no-brainer for me of how important it is to have these voices and these journeys to be shared.
Amazing. And it's changing things for the future generations. I just love it. Isn't it amazing? It's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, well, we meet some of these dads, guys. So first up, we have Charlie Maughan, who's coming to join us. Charlie, come and join us. Hello.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Sarah.
It's always nerve-wracking for the first. Can you share with us, Charlie, as a dad, how do you find balance?
I guess I'm very, very fortunate that I've got an incredible partner, and I think I'm acutely aware that not everyone has that. And I think when you become a parent, you have a sudden newfound appreciation for anyone that's doing it solo, because the balance is as much of us just having communication around what we both need. She's also professionally career driven. And so I think it's just a lot of open communication, being very honest, saying, this is what I need. What do you need? How can we manifest it for each other, as well as, juggling everything else. So I think it's about get very organized very quickly. I think being open and honest, really. It's I think if you've got those two things, you'll work it out.
Yeah. Charlie shares his schedule in his chapter. It's a good one. It's a good one to follow.
I think
yes, there are many shared calendars.
Tips and tricks for making it happen. And so that balance is really important for you in your family. And where do you see the benefits of that as to opposed how you were brought up?
I mean, I suppose the importance of finding the balance, I think, is that you need to understand or find quite quickly what are the things that fill up your cup. I do really feel that if you're going to be the best parent that you can be, you need to look at the things that are going to make you. You look at the things that make you the best of you. And I think everyone gets very caught up in sort of going, for example, I would love to, it's a bath, or it's a walk, or it's reading my book, or it's playing golf or something, or whatever your thing is, but then actually drilling down to it and going, does that actually, my wife's an example. She loves the idea of a bath, but actually hates it. So it's kind of going, okay, well, for her, you've got to find what the thing is for you. Everyone gets very, very time poor, especially if they are, a working dad or a working mum, and you've got other things to do. And I think being quite laser focused on, okay, what gives me the biggest bang for my buck, so that in terms of balance, I can go away, fill up my cup, I've got more to give to other people, and I come back and I'm the best of me. And I suppose in terms of my upbringing, I suppose relatively, if you like, traditional kind of household, in terms of my mum was very much the sort of stay at home, but dad was kind of commuting into the city. This is back in London. Would see him coming back and off the tube, and it's rainy and grey, and that was just sort of I suppose that perception. Whereas my wife's the breadwinner in our household, so I'm very happy to be the one that does all the house stuff and looks after that side. So I think it's just teamwork, and I think understanding that you, as long as you're both lifting or contributing in a way that the other appreciates, and if you're not, then talk about it rather than just sort of sit on. So balance and communication, I think, probably what comes back to.
Amazing. You hitting the word there, didn't you? Appreciation, Sarah. That's
a big one. Absolutely. That's what I heard as well. So the appreciation goes a long way, and that goes both sides. I think that is exactly what you said, Charlie. It has to go two ways. You need to appreciate each other and what each other does do, because that really does go a very long way.
Yeah. It's I mean, look, no one, I think, has figured it out. No one's cracked the code.
No one ever will, because
exactly
it's unique to everyone. It's unique.
Yeah, and I'm I suppose acutely aware of being on this live stream, contributing to the book, which I'm honored to have been able to do. But becoming a dad for the first time was a real, as I'm sure it is for many, but it was a real cold water immersion moment. And I kind of wrote my piece to try and what would I have liked to have read, for myself getting into that position, because I had this sort of very fluffy, rose tinted glasses, what it's gonna be like to be a dad, and it just wasn't that at all. And my firstborn was a COVID baby, March 2020, and that was really quite something. But I don't think anyone's cracked the code. But hopefully the book helps someone, and if it helps just someone, then we've kind of done our job.
Exactly. And I think that's it, Charlie. And I think that, a little piece of what you've given is probably going to go a much longer way than what you think, because there's so many dads that will be able to resonate with this book, and that quite a lot of them probably have never talked about it before. So the whole purpose of this is to really open that conversation and to allow dads to have the confidence to actually engage and talk about this topic, because often they get a little left behind, which is what we don't want, because you're equally as important as a parent. So
it's I think, as it rightly should, postnatal depression, anxiety in women gets spoken about, as it should, but I know for myself, that was a real experience. I sort of, I don't know whether hopefully listeners are across another great podcast, The Imperfects, but there was a recent one with Jack Post, who works in media, and he spoke about his postnatal depression sort of experience as a dad, and everything that he was saying was resonating with me, because it's something that I think dads understand. Okay, right now I just need to support mum, but then I think that, which we do, but then there's also I suppose any feeling where you haven't got that bond forming, that this magical bond that's going to happen when you look into your newborn's eyes, and you kind of go, oh, they can't see me, and I didn't know that they wouldn't see me, and I can't make them laugh yet, and what am I doing wrong, and why does Bub settle so quickly with
why can't I
mum, but
comfort
not
them?
me? Exactly. And very quickly, and if you're not talking about it, this is what it comes back to. If you're not talking about it and you're not being honest, and others aren't being honest with you, then it's very quick. It can be a slippery slope before you think I'm the only one. Exactly. And there's your daughter, depression or any other kind of mental health issues. So I'm that point of just talking about it, I think it's just so important, because yes, being a parent is a wonderful, magical time, but it's also really bloody hard, and people need to talk about that, so they know that, okay, it's not just me. Okay, that I feel a lot better. So
you're doing good. Yeah, absolutely.
So
just to touch on, I just wanted to read your quote from the book. We did it with the mums, and it was really went down well. So yours is, "You're doing great. Stick with it, because if you're reading this book, it means you care, and that's 95% of parenting is the caring, isn't it? We show up, we care, love them unconditionally."
I mean, I think it's the and even if people who aren't, if they're not reading this book, but if they're listening to a podcast, or they're talking to someone else, or they're looking at what they can do, that is it. You care, and I think you can fall. There's a degree where you can kind of take the pressure off yourself to get everything right, and just know that you care. You will get, you'll do a good job ultimately. I think. As much as social media is a great thing at connecting people, I think you can get down to some slippery slopes of just looking at everyone's highlight reels and going,
perfect life.
Oh, exactly. And the last thing you need to be doing when you are feeling emotionally and mentally vulnerable is looking at psychologists saying don't say this, or do say this, or make sure you're doing that, and don't say, because if you will find something that counters it immediately. So just focus on just trying to do your best, and you'll I'm sure everyone will get there, and reach out and talk. Can't stress that enough.
That's the biggest message, I think, is and I know you're involved in a lot of dad's talk and stuff like that, men's talk, sorry, Charlie, and I that the fact that you just advocate for mental health in men anyway is just amazing, because as we know from stats, etc., that is the biggest hurdle that a lot of dads go through, is just they don't feel that they can communicate confidently about what they're going through. So there's so much support out there for dads at the moment, which is just amazing. So it really does need to be utilized a bit more, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming back to being a working parent, and navigating any of those conversations that you have at work, I think it's having some of that, as you're saying in your preamble, it's having some of that conviction to understand your stance and what's right for you in terms of if you need to, negotiate better working conditions or, more flexible working conditions, I suppose, understand what's right for you. Don't just go through the hurdles because that's what you think you should be doing. And, to relate that to myself, I had in my mind that, when my first my first daughter was born, I would drop down to part-time, and that was as much of the sort of kind of preconditioning, sort of what being a good dad looked like would be to drop down to being part-time. And so when I did struggle with my eldest and sort of really struggled to create that bond, it was a bit of an admission of almost failure that I didn't want to go part-time. But it was actually a lot of a chat with my partner and going, you know what, when the girls get a little bit older, let's look at that again. And that's what I'm doing this year. I've been 4 days, which has been amazing, and I've enjoyed it so much more than I think I would have if I'd taken it when you should, so it's just I think it's got to suit you. Got to be okay to do things that suit you and your context.
100%. And it's a bit of a trial and error, and I think that's the same. It's Vicky Wren actually spoke about something very similar from a mum's perspective in her mum interview, and it's that what I feel I should do compared to what I feel like I want to do for me, and I think that that societal perspective has such an influence on people sometimes. And I did it too. I took 12 months off with both, and probably wasn't the best thing for me because I was bored and unstimulated and not feeling that, motivated in life because it wasn't for me. But that's okay. And I think it's really important to just understand yourself and have that awareness to really be able to identify what's working and what's not for you. So that's a really important message to share, Charlie. So thank you.
Yeah. No worries at all.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for that insight. I'm sure that lots of dads and mums will get so much. I believe that this book is for mums to read as well, to just to get that insight from behind the scenes. So thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me on.
Bye, guys. Oh, wow. I love getting these conversations. They're just so stirring, aren't they? It just gives you...
No.
Okay, we're going to bring up Rhys Maconachie, and I know the first thing that everyone's going to say, there's a surname similarity here. So can you, for our
viewers, be married?
Yes, I got that.
This is the other half. So this conversation could get really heated. Who knows?
All right, I will be the pig in the middle and make sure it doesn't. Welcome, Rhys. How are you going? You have muted yourself there, so let me just unmute you.
Rhys, you're on mute.
Mute's there. So I was saying I've got the pleasure of being married to Sarah here. So I'm not biased at all, but it's one great book for fathers and mothers, as you said there, to read, to hear some of these great, different and varied stories on what fatherhood and parenting means to people from different walks of life.
I'm sure you were not coerced into being in this book against your will. I'm sure it was something that you chose to do. But I would love to hear from you, as a dad, how do you find a balance? Because we heard from Sarah and now we can hear from you. And I think for our viewers, it's going to be amazing to hear both sides of the story from one household, which would be amazing.
Yeah, so I myself work in the corporate world. So when we had our first child coming along, Sophia, which was pre-COVID, there it was a bit of a challenge thinking, okay, what's this going to mean from my perspective? Once I obviously have my 3-4 weeks off at the start there, obviously Sarah's going to need help there, but what does that mean? If I leave the office before 5:30, are people going to be looking at you? Or you need to, once you get to daycare, helping with drop-offs and that, what does that all mean? Because obviously flexible ways of working weren't really a thing probably in 2019 there as they are now. So it was a bit of sort of going through your mind, how's that all going to work? But yeah, I think it just sort of came to, once it happened, you get stuck in there. Then I think coming from Sydney, where it was probably a more corporate culture, to when we moved back to Perth here, I think, I had that feeling in the office there that it was a more laid back sort of culture there. And as you see other people, I can see other people, they're doing school drop-offs and that, you sort of gave me that sort of confidence to a degree there to be more flexible, to sort of give Sarah that support she needed, and then also myself get to spend time with the children. If you're working till 5:30, you get home at 6, well then you're not really going to spend any time with your newborn babies. They're going to be asleep there. So that was in the sort of early days of what sort of balance was there, where I sort of made the effort to get home when I needed to there. But then sort of probably fast forward to then coming into post-COVID and having our twins there, where obviously the workload sort of went up 3, 4, 5-fold there of what that meant for Sarah sort of managing that, and myself, how that all works. So I think, COVID was probably, not, I won't say a blessing, but to a degree it had it sort of enhanced that mindset around flexibility in the workplace there. So you had that confidence to sort of do what you needed to do to help out. So I've been fortunate with previously working with Westpac and then Commonwealth Bank now, where you have that confidence. Like no one's looking at you if you leave at 4 o'clock because you want to go pick your children up from daycare, or if you want to leave at 2:30 to go pick your child up from school. Everyone does it, and you've got that confidence there to do that. So spending time with your children there. So if you worked office hours, you're not really going to see too much of your kids at this early age, because they'll be in bed by the time you get home. So it's all about sort of having that balance of, okay, I'll leave the office most days at 4 o'clock, so I get home, spend some of that time, help do dinner and bath time there. Then if I need to, I'll log in the evening and catch my work up that way there. So I think that's sort of a key part of how we've found balance there, where I think it's a lot probably easier in this day and age than say back in our parents' time there, where you're probably more
even as close as 2019 you discussed there, like COVID, as much as it was such a negative in the world, it actually helped with a reset in this kind of arena, and I think that you touched on it, and it's really important to the taboo was taken away from people in corporate, going, they want to be there, they want it, like that power hour in the evening, that 1 hour makes such a huge difference in family life, and you can always make it.
And then you've got the 2 or 3 hours with your kids for that, difference in time. It's so valuable.
Yeah, but I think even then it can vary. Like, I've just started this new job here, I'm only sort of 6-7 weeks in, but even so, you come to a new employer and it's like, okay, you again start to doubt yourself of, okay, everyone's still in the office here, but I'm sort of getting ready to leave. People going to say, oh, this new guy here, he's working there. So you're almost like, again, you come into a new organisation or an environment there, you start to again question that flexibility sometimes, until, okay, you talk to a few people.
Your wife pipes in.
Yeah.
Luckily, Rhys is married to me, and he was like, I'm a bit people seem to be in really early and they seem to be late. I was like, well, Rhys, you are our director and you need to set the tone. So you come in and say, I'll drop the kids off today and I'm leaving at 2:30 to pick up my daughter. I was like, your role is to facilitate and to role model that behavior as well. So I was like, if you don't see other people doing it, you do it and you make the change.
Yes.
I think it's also part of people have their flexibility in different ways. Versus, I'm someone who gets in the office 5 days a week, as I like being in the office. I just find myself personally more productive in the office, and I like to be around people, etc. And my job involves a lot of client-facing work there, so I prefer to be in the office 5 days a week. So that's why, okay, I'll be in 5 days a week, but I might get here at 8:30 because I've done daycare drop off, and I might leave at 4 to do a pickup or get home there. Versus other people might be, okay, they work 3 days in the office, but they have 2 days at home where, okay, they're probably doing school pickups in that time or other stuff there. So it's all about everyone.
And then you've got weekends off, people who have business don't have the luxury.
Yeah, so I think you just need to sort of not necessarily think you need to follow a set flexibility or balance there, where everyone will sort of have their own there, and just sort of be confident, where most organisations, especially larger ones, that they're very open to what you're doing there. So it's about sort of not probably doubting yourself and that flexibility or balance.
It is amazing. I love how this has transcended, because if you and in a generation it's transcended, because I know when I was younger I very rarely seen my dad because he was always working, and you know what I mean. So whereas in this, you know, with our children, they are getting to be, it's all inclusive, it's teamwork, it's working together, and you're be able to be hands-on as well. Like, and as you said earlier, Sarah, the kids benefit, the next generation is benefiting because of it.
100%. And you know, like if I'm going out for work or whatever, it's no drama because they love daddy just as much as they love mummy. And you know, that takes the burden off me drastically because they've got such a strong relationship with Rhys. So you know, there's that balance as well. And then I don't feel guilty and awful because I've left my kids, because I know that they're super happy with dad. Like no problem. Because
anxiety and hanging
like, which makes a huge difference.
I'm a pretty
as well.
fun dad.
Wow, you guys, I bet it's just
I'm still number one though.
Of course. Oh, amazing. I love the insight. So thank you so much for joining us, Rhys. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. But yeah, no, great to hear all the other stories, Charlie's beforehand, and yeah, look forward to hearing the other guys on here, what they have to say. As I said, it's all about different perspectives, and what works for some people might not work for others, and what works for some might work for others. So it's all about just hearing these different stories and how they might sort of adjust your mindset on how you can sort of maybe change things up to help improve the way you go about it.
Yeah, I love it. And it's that winning formula, what that is for you. And I just love it. I love it. Love hearing that. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I did. Sorry, Rhys. My finger went. Oh, sorry. Okay, we're going to welcome John Park to the stage. John, come and join us.
Hey, Karen, it's Sarah.
Hi, John.
How are you?
We are
good. How are you?
It's tough to be here.
Why?
It is.
John was one of the key inspirations for me wanting to do a dad's book.
Okay.
It happened over some drinks at Denton's, and he shared a story with me about his children, and it broke my heart. And I was like, these stories need to be shared because it's so important and it's so valuable. And I know John finds it hard because it's a hard story for him, but he turned things around, and he, you know, is now very involved as a parent. So he shouldn't find it as hard as he does.
Yeah. John, thank you. Thank you for coming and showing up and sharing. I think it's just so important. It's vitally important that we hear this perspective so that people who are feeling it can make the change. So can you share with us?
What do you want me to share, Karen?
Well, can you share with us how you have found balance? Because
balance.
From the essence of what Sarah is sharing, it is you are traditional, as in not, and now you have turned it around, and there's so many people need to hear this story.
Well, I think I'm still traditional.
Yes. Well,
and
what's not that?
I think I'm still very traditional, and I think my wife is very traditional, though she is a professional. She works 3 days a week and works hard, both in the house and during her work days. She's also a lawyer. And we agreed to have a more traditional approach to our marriage and the raising of our children before we got married. So we don't have perhaps as much of the balance as others might have, achieved or wanted to achieve. Claire was out of the workforce for 11 years, caring for our boys and me and looking after the house, essentially, if that's still allowed to say that. It doesn't look after itself. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So
Especially if she's looking after 3 boys.
Yeah, that's true.
Man and 2 boys.
Yeah, that and 2 boys are really 3 boys. So, yeah, balance. I often hear about this, thing called work-life balance, and I don't see the dichotomy, because working is part of most of our lives, and living is, of course, part of most of our lives, and part of that we do at work. So I really shy away from that idea that you find a work-life balance. What you have to have is a life balance, and you have to balance within that life. How much time do you want to be in the office? How much time do you want to be out sailing boats or fishing or with your pet, your wife or your children? Can you incorporate them in your other activities? So I have probably a more holistic rather than a divisive approach to what we might call work-life balance. In the home, balance is easy to find. My wife tells me when I've got it right, and she tells me when I've got it wrong. And then it's up to me to listen or not. As the children... What, Karen?
I think you found your balance that works for you, John, and it's worked.
It's worked. Yeah, it works. And I think one of the others said that it's not all a bed of roses. And if you don't have those moments where you have to redefine something or parts of something, it's likely no one's communicating. A long time ago now, 20 years approximately, we've been now married, and I had a previous marriage, and that came different challenges as I was growing. 20 years ago, my wife and I agreed that the cornerstone of being a successful marriage and lasting more than what people talk about is 7 years was communication, and the ability to communicate and to fight fair. We had a lot of conversations early on, and we had to learn how to fight fair, how to have disputes that are fair. I think I wouldn't be the only man who would say, women don't fight fair because they'll introduce things from a year ago or 4 years ago, or that they never forget, and it's not
just get it off their chest.
Yeah, but they got to get off their chest every time, And men want to be
John,
solutions.
you're a very prominent lawyer. You should be great at fighting.
Not with my wife.
She's a lawyer too, so
Yeah.
May the best lawyer win.
Yeah, I don't want to fight with her, but I'm happy to, have those discussions when they need to be had to make the balance of the relationship, because you don't, as particularly when the children are younger, and every now and then, even now, I'll do some parenting, and my wife will say, do you want a medal for that? Or, well, Parenting 101 by Dad John, so I haven't done as much of the parenting as Claire. I used to spend an inordinate amount of my life at work, as I did in my first marriage. I worked a very demanding role, and I travelled about 250 days a year away from home on average. And in my second, I didn't do the travelling so much. I did some, but I spent hours and hours at work, weekends, public holidays. And to me, that was normal, and to me, that was expected. Now I don't spend as much time at work, and I'm learning every single day, and talking to Sarah and talking to the people at the book launch. I'm going to make an admission now that you don't want to hear. I haven't read the dad's book yet. I can't bear it.
John.
I'm making the truth for you, but I've read the mum's one.
Yeah, I know. But
I'm going to say you need to read the mum's one. Well done.
Yeah, you read the mum's one. But
I read the mum's one because I thought I could read that, and I thought I would learn perhaps different things from that. I haven't been brave enough to read the dad's.
Really interesting. What is it that is making you not want to read the dad's book? What's your fear?
I'm not scared.
That you're not good enough. Yes, I know you way too well, John.
No, no, I don't have any concerns about comparing me with the other dads, and I don't think any of the dads compare each other at all. And when we met,
So why don't you want to read it?
I just haven't. I don't know. I think it's an emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to find a space. I read the mum's one in one sitting. I started it. I didn't intend to read in one sitting. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah, it is amazing. They're both amazing, and equally, I think stand in your chapter. It's very powerful, John, and you know, you have your own life balance, and I think that I think looks very wonderful around you. Like, we all have things that we can always feel we can do better at all times, but I think that once you embrace your life the way that it is, it's worked. So you just got to roll with it, hasn't it? No regrets. No regrets.
No regrets. I think my learning from this is probably, and hopefully is more expressed in how I now in the workplace deal with other people and other people's needs or wants, to go to the children's assembly, to go when they're going to get an award for people, even not under my direct report, but that I hear about in the organisation who have children, and I try and talk to them and just be willing to listen out in case I hear there's a need to get away early, and I can support that perhaps with other managers. And I think that's where my biggest change has been, and I think it's been incredibly valuable to me to be able to make that change, because I feel much better about it. And I think for my team, direct team and others, I think that's a huge shift that, you know, they appreciate having someone who can support that what is right. Then there shouldn't be the conversation I had the other day with someone saying, "Oh, but I want to," and I just said, you just shouldn't feel any guilt about wanting to go to your daughter's presentation. Just just go. And I've learned that since I've met Sarah, really. I did it a little bit myself, but I would get there, I'd be standing near the door, one of my boys would get a certificate, I would make a loud noise falling over a chair so they knew I was there, and I'd be gone. You know, I didn't do, I would be at work.
You didn't do, you didn't put in that time, and you wish that you'd had. And I think that's a really important aspect is, you know, you can reflect on your own journey, and rather than being like, well, I didn't get that, so you don't, which unfortunately a lot of managers do have that a little bit. I do love the fact that you've taken that experience and you're like, I don't want you to have that experience. And, you know, so you're now a huge advocate. You're a huge advocate, though. And I know people within your team that have got children that openly say what an incredible advocate you are. So, you know, it's amazing that you're doing that and you're supporting other parents, which is brilliant, especially across such a large organization and in an industry that is notorious for long hours and a lot of working. So, you know, law in particular is definitely an industry that needs to have those conversations and to ensure that people don't do what you did in the early years of your children and just work through them.
Especially when the desire is there to be present. So I think that's amazing to alleviate the shame and the guilt around taking time out to be present in those magical moments that people want to be there for. Amazing work. Thank you, John.
And I do know that
you're doing a great job, John.
You see the first steps, because they always happen on the weekend, remember?
Yes.
That's right.
And their first words are always "Daddy."
Yeah.
It is, because it's easier to say, just saying. I was singing when as we're all Dada, and I was like, excuse me.
Good.
John, you are an absolute delight to talk to about these sorts of things. So thank you for sharing your journey. I know it's hard for you, And I talk about you all the time. I know that you don't love that, but it's because the message behind it is amazing. And yeah, you're a great person, a great advocate for parents. So thank you.
And I'll make a commitment to the dads. I'll read the book.
We want to
One
hear.
sitting. Let me know your thoughts once you've done it.
Yeah.
I have to find an emotional space to do it.
Yeah. Go grab a copy. Go grab a copy.
A little whiskey.
Go buy your copy right now and off you go, okay?
I've got it at
your
home.
meetings for the rest of the day.
I've got it at home. I'm all good. All right.
Awesome, John. You take care.
John.
Thanks
nice
for
to meet you, Karen. See you, Sarah. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, he's fun. And a great and important conversation, Sarah. Amazing.
It is, yeah. He's a real inspiration to talk to, actually, John, because he's got 4 kids, 2 from each marriage, and his journey and his experience with them all is, you could sit there for hours. Honestly, I have sat there for hours and talked to John about these things. So
so much really to learn from it, and for him courage to just, so many men wouldn't talk about it, but he's showing up.
His chapter.
All right, we are going to welcome Thomas Batchelor to the stage. Welcome, Thomas. Hey, Thomas.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Karen.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Hi. Good, thanks. I might be a bit busy here, so I'm on some borrowed time. I've actually got the kids over in Bali, so if any kids run through or any noises, then
I'm all for it, because that's working parent life, Tom. So they're welcome to join the call if they like. Fine by me.
No, I thought that too. I thought, I could go into another room, and I was like, you know what? I'll just sit amongst the business, and this is part of it, right?
Yeah, I have done interviews with many people, and I've had kids climbing over me sometimes. So you just do you. Thank you for showing up, especially when you're in Bali, and whatever you're working or whatever doing there. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Thomas, can you share with us how you find balance for you and your family?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, it's good. I think just getting your priorities right, I think, is one thing. And then I say the second one's just divide and conquer. I mean, at this stage, it's like, making sure that you're, if you can't do it all as a team because of, fighting or whatever, and, one kid wants to do this, then divide and conquer. If you take 2 kids or 1 kid, or, the other person gets a break. So I think making sure you're striking a balance so both people are getting that time off. And I think me and my wife do that pretty good. So, I mean, this is an example. Like, this was a family trip with 2 other families, and my wife's really busy at work at the moment. It's quite a critical time for her. And she just said, look, Tom, I don't think I can go on this trip. And I was like, well, don't go then. And I just decided to take it on my own. So I'm here in Bali with my kids. And so, I mean, it's a holiday. It's a bit of a challenge, but, it's a holiday nonetheless. And, my wife's enabling me to be over here and, swim in the pool each day and drink a few beers and play with the kids in the pool. So, it's good.
Tough life, isn't it? Though, I love that you're sharing this example, because there are times like that, and it'll ebb and flow. It could be the other way around another time, but it's about showing up. Still don't miss out to get to go on holiday, and then work still gets done, isn't it? It's about teamwork doing that.
Yeah. If we all came as a family, I think we'd be in a worse position, because it would cost my wife at work, and then it would all, we'd be behind the 8 ball then, and we've been there before, and it's not a great place. So
she wouldn't be enjoying the holiday because her mind's going to be elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's fine, because quite often the tables turn on that, and it's okay. And so I just love this example of working dads and balancing. Like, this is one of the secrets to making it work, is honoring what comes up at any time and giving it the best solution together, isn't it?
Yeah, agree.
Oh, amazing. Sarah?
I bet your kids are still having an absolute ball, whether mum's there or not as well. Like, that's the
thing.
They
Definitely.
probably won't. Yep, they're having a great time. either way, and your wife's getting to catch up on her list of things that she needs to do. And I think that's a big thing, is that mental load, and when you've got reams and reams of things that are going on in your mind. And I know this is more of an issue with mums than it is for dads, but that mental load is often the thing that is the problem. So her being able to have that space to actually just tick things off, and she'll get so much done in this week. You'll go back and it'll be like she's had a holiday, because she's going to be like so much lighter from it.
Yeah, for sure, I agree.
Yeah, amazing. I just love this share, because had the alternative happened of being on the holiday and then coming back with still a load afterwards, and maybe behind a schedule or behind in something, now you can. It's the best of both worlds: the freeing up of the time, the freeing up of the space, and the freeing up of the energy. I just love it. I think that's a brilliant balance that you've got, and huge kudos to you, Thomas, for finding it.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Amazing. All right. Well, we can hear your kids in the background, so we're going to free you from the shackles of this live. But thank you so much for joining us and sharing. This conversation is so important. Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks, Tom.
It's okay.
Enjoy your holiday.
No worries.
Enjoy.
All right. Thanks very much. Okay.
Oh, I love that, Sarah. Isn't it so important to have that conversation?
Rhys, if you want to go on holiday with the kids and leave me at home, just so you know, I'm fine with it.
Rhys isn't there. He doesn't.
He's left, has he? Well,
he's just left.
We'll still be watching this. Actually, I'm doing that. I'm going on a girls' holiday with the kids in January, because we were like, well, we get all this time with the kids in the school holidays, and all the dads have to work and get like their 4 weeks off or whatever. We were like, we'll just go on holiday for 4 nights and take the kids. We get to have a few glasses of wine and a nice cheese platter while the kids are all playing together. What a win. And then, you know, your husbands get a break for that time. So we're actually doing the same thing, but the other way around. Because why not?
And it changes the setting. It changes the dynamics of, you know, in 6 weeks at home on the holidays. There's a lot, and kids get cabin fever.
Time.
Amazing. That's,
I know.
Coming too. Oh, right. Thank you, Doug, for being so patient. We are welcoming you to the stage. Thank you so much.
Last but not least, Doug.
Yes.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Doug.
Howdy.
How are we?
Good. What a range of stories and experiences. There's a couple of common themes, but yeah, it was good to see Tom's practical example. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
And I love that, Doug, your wife is in the mum's book too. So yourself and myself and Rhys are the duos where you get to see the perspectives from 2 angles, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's unique stories in their own right. And it's different sets of challenges even when we're heading towards the same outcome. So yeah, it's really good. It was a good exercise for us to put pen to paper and to really look at each other's priorities and the way that we've internalized them. So it was, a bit of a unique experience, to be honest.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say it was like the best therapy session they've ever done. And I think that, it's that kind of therapeutic, putting it all down and then being able to reflect and being able to think, oh, hold on, like, how is this really sitting with me? And, you know, like John shared, like, what's this bringing up and how's this making me feel, and where do I need to do a bit of work type of thing? Like, it's been quite powerful, I think, for a lot of people to actually share their journeys, which is great in a way.
Definitely. And I think one of the positives coming from it is, and I know part of the book is a bit of reflection, others is to basically bring some light to some of these matters. But I think subtly we're trying to influence and change perceptions and look at what the rigidities are and see where we can actually make it kinder and make it a more suitable space for both mums and dads and others. So I think, John's reflections were quite powerful, and it sounds as if the influence is being made even before the book came out with your discussions with him. So that's a really positive sign.
Yeah, it's good to hear, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're really on to something here, Sarah, with the mums and the dads both doing this. It's, I suppose, like an exercise together that really can bring a perspective from both sides so that you can meet in the middle and find some things that you can work on and or help with, or, you know, lighting for each other, and this thing that comes together and really makes a difference in a family life, because it can get busy and you cannot stop. You know, you can taking the time to do this is, you know, it's not usually a priority, but if you're going to do it in a book or whatever, but to see the benefits firsthand of actually actioning it and seeing the benefit it has on the family life between both, I think that's really powerful.
Absolutely.
So Doug, can you share with us, like, how do you find balance for you as a dad?
Okay. How do I find balance? So I know we've covered prioritization and communication. They are really quite the key themes. But I'd also say that, again, not being rigid. So looking at, well, we know what we're prioritizing and life happens. So a plan's great until you start putting it into action, until life happens. So whether that be someone's health, or whether that be a world event, or such as COVID, or things that are happening internationally. So you've got to be able to pivot and get stuck in. So looking at what balance means to me, and reflecting on even what John said in his discussion about the dichotomy, work and life, and really doing away with that. It's being very clear where my work would stop and what that would mean. So a personal reflection: I used to be a prosecutor within the police. So I was a prosecuting sergeant for the West Australian Police Force, but I was also the primary carer for my two sons. So when daycare called, it would go to my phone, and if that was in the middle of a court session, I would hope that it would be a very urgent call, but knowing that we had those systems in place that they would only call if it was urgent, and having those communicating with my bosses and things like that, okay, if this happens, this is what we're going to need to do, and having that plan. So as far as work-life balance, it's all choices, and you got to be happy with those choices. So being very clear of, okay, well, if that happens, then we're going to need to put a lot of effort into it, or we're going to need to immediately look at it. So when we're talking about children's health, I've got absolutely no qualms in explaining to my work, well, this is really important. This is why we have succession planning, and this is why we set up our team structure the way we have, is to allow for that flexibility if someone should leave or be called away. So yeah, it's forward planning, but making sure that we can make those adjustments. So that's how I'd find my balance.
I think that's just so important, isn't it? It's about prioritizing and putting things in place for when life happens, because inevitably, no matter where you are in or what job you're in, no matter what, life will happen, and you have to, you know, work around that or work with it to find solutions, and for you to be able to have that in place within your what you're doing is leading the way for other people to be able to have that conversation in the workplace and not feel so stuck that should they ever need to raise their hand and say, I need time or I need help here, that it's okay, you know, and it makes such a difference.
And I think as well, Doug, with your nature of work being, you know, part of the frontline workers and stuff like that, that's where a lot of people find the balance really hard, because, you know, you can't always just be like, oh, I'm leaving. But you're proving that actually, if you've got the right plan in place, then you can. And, you know, I sit with organizations all the time and they're like, we don't know how to implement flexibility because these people need to be, here all the time, and they can't physically not be here or whatever. But, I said it before, where there's a will, there's a way. And, you've shown firsthand how you can make that happen when you're literally in the middle of court. Like, you've got to do what you've got to do. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, and having over a decade on frontline policing, so I'm no longer a police officer. I resigned, and I now work in the federal government space. But there's I don't know if it's a cliche or a saying, but if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. So if you don't make time to actually look after yourself, and there's another one for a lot of frontline officers or first responders, who rescues the rescuer? If you're not looking after yourself, how can you be the best, or how can you be in the best position to go out and do your job day in, day out? So it's one thing that I was quite vocal both on LinkedIn and within my office, which was the concept of unapologetic self-care. So there shouldn't be any guilt or any associated negative feelings with making sure that you're bringing your best version, both to work and to your family. If you're not, one of the things that I see, or when I can see that frustration creeping in, and something that I reflect on myself, is when I'm trying to do something and I'm not present in the moment when one of my sons is trying to speak over me or trying to get something done. Well, it's a mismatch of what he thinks is important and what I think is important. My important thing's still going to be there afterwards. So it's been really beneficial for me. And I've wrote parts about it in the chapter. Is after school time is kids' time. If it's sunny, we'll go to the park. We'll have that time together. Work's going to be there, or the other prioritization is going to be there. We've got the flexibility at the moment in my work and my wife's work, that there's a portion of the day that we can be fully dedicated to that. Then there's built-in reflection time, and then if we need to jump on anything afterwards, well, after 7 o'clock, that's more than happy to jump on after the kids are after dinner, and we can do it that way. So yeah, it all works. Just got to find out what works for you.
Exactly.
And everyone's unique, so it is really having that self-reflection and the ability to really know what works and what doesn't for you, because that's the most powerful thing that you can have, I think, is that self-awareness.
Yeah. Such an important and awesome, valuable share, Doug. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, another amazing interview series, Sarah. Kudos to you for putting these amazing people into one book. These books are going to, change the trajectory of some people's lives.
I know, I hope so. And the thing that I really love is there's actually so many organisations that want to buy these for their employers, which I'm just loving. So yeah, if you want to buy these for your team, then hit me up, because there's a fair few organisations doing that, and it really is something that every parent in your organisation should read, because it's just so insightful. It really is.
Insightful and enhances production. So it's a no-brainer.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's just a no-brainer. Like it ticks all the right boxes. So it's something that you really need to take the time to actually go through and read, because you're just going to learn so much from it. It's incredible.
Yeah, if you have a happy workforce, they are happy to work. I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Guys, if you're watching, come and grab a copy today on Kindle, or go to Work Hard, Parent Hard. Work Hard, Parent Hard. And grab a copy from Sarah. And if you are an organization who, like, Christmas is coming up, these are amazing gifts for your staff. Come and get some copies for your workforce. Amazing gifts that could really change the culture in your work environment in a
Big
really
time.
good way. Big time.
Yeah,
big time.
really good. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you,
for
Karen.
joining us. Thank you, Sarah. Amazing, amazing. Take care, and we cannot wait to hear reviews. Bye, guys.
I know, exciting. Bye, everyone.